Welcome to the third episode of this four-part series, examining Adolf Hitler's life from childhood through his rise to power. In episode 2, we followed Adolf Hitler's rise from radical agitator to political leader. In this episode, we examine what happened once he achieved power. We explore how dictatorship was established, how ideology became policy, and how Europe was driven into the most destructive war in history. Once appointed Chancellor, Adolf Hitler moved swiftly to consolidate power. Within weeks, civil liberties were suspended, political opponents were arrested, independent newspapers were shut down. Germany transitioned rapidly from a democracy into a dictatorship. After the Reichstag fire in February 1933, Hitler used emergency decrees to eliminate opposition. The Nazi Party became the only legal political organization. Trade unions were dismantled. Political rivals were imprisoned or forced into exile. When President Hindenburg died in 1934, Hitler merged the offices of Chancellor and President, declaring himself Führer. The German military swore personal loyalty to him. The Nazi state relied on propaganda, surveillance, and fear. Joseph Goebbels oversaw a vast propaganda apparatus that portrayed Hitler as Germany's savior. Rallies, radio broadcasts, and films reinforced a sense of national unity and destiny. Central to the regime was racial ideology. Jews were excluded from public life through the Nuremberg laws. Other groups, including Roma, disabled individuals, political dissidents, and LGBTQ people, were persecuted. At the same time, Hitler pursued aggressive foreign policy goals. He rearmed Germany in violation of international treaties. He remilitarized the Rhineland, annexed Austria, and demanded territory from neighboring states. Western powers largely responded with appeasement. In September 1939, Germany invaded Poland. World War II began. Initially, Hitler's military strategy appeared successful. Germany conquered large portions of Europe through rapid, coordinated attacks known as blitzkrieg. Hitler's popularity reached its peak, but the war expanded beyond Germany's capacity. The invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941 opened a vast, brutal front. Later that year, the United States entered the war. Meanwhile, the Nazi regime implemented the Holocaust, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews. This genocide was not incidental. It was organized, bureaucratic, and ideological. Extermination camps, mass shootings, and forced ghettos formed a network of industrialized killing. As the war turned against Germany, Hitler became increasingly isolated. He rejected unfavorable intelligence, dismissed generals, and issued unrealistic orders. Loyalty mattered more than competence. By 1945, Germany was collapsing. Allied forces closed in from both east and west. Hitler retreated to his bunker beneath Berlin. On April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler committed suicide. The Third Reich collapsed days later. By 1945, the regime Adolf Hitler built had collapsed under the weight of war, genocide, and strategic failure. Germany lay in ruins, and millions were dead. Hitler's rise had ended not in triumph, but in devastation on an unprecedented scale. In the final episode, we step back from events to examine the psychology behind them, how Hitler thought, how he exercised power, and what his life reveals about leadership, belief, and the dangers of unchecked authority.